Hello and welcome. There have been a number of visitors from other countries here just recently, which has been very good. We've been able to make use of this facility, Samadhi Sala, the meditation hall here, not only for meditation, but to sit comfortably in the relatively cool and mosquito-free environment of this hall, this building. The work is commencing on building the structure, having now connected the independent water supply here, the structure to hold the water tank, and then eventually we'll build some, or there will be built some other facilities for visitors. But for now it's very simple, and I've just been enjoying the company of others for the purpose of discussing Dharma, which has been hopefully beneficial for them, but it's certainly also been beneficial for me to exchange discussions on the teachings of the Buddha and how we practically apply that to our lives, which is what we also do here in this online community, this platform, this environment we have, dedicated to discussing moral virtue, meditation, and wisdom. So moving straight on with the comments and questions, of which I receive a number. I'm now in the process of just catching up a little from where there have been some recent talks, Dharma talks. I've just sat here and spoken, and therefore the comments, the questions have built up a little in the background. But don't worry, I will get to your comment or your question soon. I don't miss them out. If I can't answer them, I'll ask you to rephrase them. But normally speaking, they're all included. So if you have been missed out, if it's more than a few weeks ago, then please resubmit your question. But the first comment here, just to give you an idea, I think this goes back to the end of the year, so around the end of December, 31st of December, so about 2 weeks, just over 2 weeks ago. How to start and learn more about meditation and practice. Keep watching this channel. Subscribe, join this community of like-minded people where you will learn all about meditation and practice, the core teachings of Buddhism, and the Noble Eightfold Path, comprising Sila, moral virtue, keeping precepts, Samadhi, meditation, as well as developing Sati, mindfulness, in all of our daily activities, concentrating on the Satipatthana, the four foundations of mindfulness, mindfulness of the body, mindfulness of feelings, mindfulness of the mind, and mindfulness of all phenomena we experience, or dharmas. Dharmas in that sense is everything we experience, or nature, if you like, the nature of the universe, but it also refers to Dharma with a capital D, the teachings of the Buddha, the suttas, the Buddhist suttas. So that is also a place where you can access very valuable resources of information, which are the Buddhist scriptures, the words of the Buddha, written down a little while after his death, but having been transmitted orally and accurately by his disciples closest to him, to that next generation, have been recorded for prosperity and are what we work with now within this practice for our education of the Dharma in the sense of Buddhist learning. It isn't an intellectual subject, it is a practical philosophy that can be applied to all of our acts of body, speech and mind. So listening to this channel, listening to people's questions, even if they seem sometimes that we're repeating the same questions over and over again, is much like if you read the suttas from cover to cover. It's a vast collection, 10,000 suttas, over 84,000 chapters or pages or something like that, that take some time to read, but you'll notice quite quickly it's very repetitive, both within the suttas and certainly the subject matter, because the Buddha teaches us just two things: suffering and the end of suffering. And that is what we're discussing and looking towards practicing here amongst noble friends, wise friends, like-minded people. The path to the end of suffering, or contentment, which leads to happiness. So this is the happy channel in that sense. We're not looking at the world pessimistically, we're just identifying the truth. That is the Four Noble Truths, which is inclusive of that Noble Eightfold Path. Now this is discussed at length if you go back through the videos. If you wish to shortcut that, go to playlists, go to Dharma talks, then sort them in order of popularity, the most viewed. And that is going to be Dharma talks on the subjects that most commonly come up. And there aren't that many videos if you look at it that way round, and start from the most popular and work down. It's a very approximate rule of thumb, that, but that's a way of beginning if you want to backtrack on what we've discussed so far. But even if you don't have time to do that, subscribe and keep watching, because these subjects will come up time and time again. How to meditate, it's there on this channel. I think you just search how to meditate English Buddhist monk, or just scroll through the Dharma talks. It is there. If you can't find it, it'll come up within the next, if not within this talk, within the next few talks, okay? So I hope that helps. You could, in terms of sutta reading, if you're at that stage, you want to go into more depth, please email me. I'll certainly send you links to good resources, or the main initial starting places, but also future reference points as far as the chanting book is concerned. And the only real commentary, that is additional reading material over and above the suttas, that I ever really recommend, and that is a book called The Word of the Buddha by Bhante Nyanatiloka Bhikkhu, a German who became a monk, lived in Sri Lanka, and wrote a very good book summarizing the life of the Buddha, the suttas, and monastic life, and also even a little dive into what we call the Abhidharma, which was more in-depth study on the content of those suttas and the working of the mind in relation to that practice. It sketches over it, but that's really all that needs to be done. What is important is the practice itself, the keeping of precepts and the meditation to develop wisdom. And it's a good introduction to the suttas. Then you can look into the core teachings of the Buddha contained in the suttas, and a way to index that, to find those valuable suttas, is to go to the chanting book. Again, if you email me, I'll send you links to those or various chanting books which contain those chanting form suttas that are a starting point to easily understand if you read them in your own language, and then later, if you want to look at the full sutta, find them in the Sutta Pitaka for your own reading. Anapanasati Sutta is, I mentioned the Satipatthana, the four foundations of mindfulness, but the other beginning point as far as the practical application of meditation is concerned is the Anapanasati Sutta. You can just Google that. You'll get a rather long and convoluted version of the sutta. There are two versions of the sutta, and it might be difficult to understand, which is why I say if you go to the sutta, the chanting book version of the Anapanasati Sutta, it's a much more concise, condensed form of that sutta, establishing mindfulness, observation of the breath, and so on. the next comment. I wish I could reach enlightenment while still getting all the stuff I want. Is there any way to do this? Well, it is what you want, the stuff you want, that is at question there, or the question there. When you're enlightened, you have all you want. You have contentment, so there is no wanting. You still need food, clothing, shelter, and medicine, just the basic 4 requisites. But there is no real desire or wanting or thirst or craving for anything else. So this practice towards enlightenment is slowly understanding, identifying what it is you want and why you want it. And then when you see the very fickle nature of what it is you want and why you want it, it's more easily understood, and if necessary, which it usually is, can be let go of, put down. Because often you'll find what it is you want, the stuff you want, is just something that's attracted you, you think you need, but you really don't. When you see the truth behind it, it's just additional suffering. You'll identify what it is you want will soon become unsatisfactory through the nature of impermanence. And that is out of your control. But what is within your control is what you do about that desire. If you identify it as unsatisfactory that you're wanting something you don't have, or unsatisfactory that you have something that you don't want, it is suffering. That identification of suffering is a long way towards understanding the cause of suffering, and gives you the ability, the tools, to eradicate that cause. That is what enlightenment is, or the path towards enlightenment is. So when you're enlightened, you have everything you want. So in that sense, the answer to your question is yes, you just follow the Noble Eightfold Path, and you'll have all you can possibly have out of this lifetime. All that you can possibly want. It might not be material stuff, like clothes, cars, houses, I don't know, makeup, perfume, jewelry. But if you see realistically, truthfully, how they don't benefit you in any other than visual and aesthetic appearance ways, whereas an understanding of the suffering they cause benefits you in so many more ways and enables you to eradicate that thirst, that craving, that discomfort, then you are on the way towards enlightenment. Okay, can you give me some motivation for meditation? I've went from 1 hour in the early morning to 10 minutes to not every day. What's wrong with me? I feel I'm letting myself and practice down. Any help on how not to feel this way and get back into meditation? I do not notice a big difference meditating, just have been slack lately. Any advice to help would be greatly appreciated. So this is a very common question and problem that people have. Meditation is not that popular. It might seem so because there are lots of talks, or there is a lot of talk about meditation, a lot of talk about mindfulness, a lot of discussion, a lot of videos, a lot of books on these subjects. Yes, there is intellectually a whole lot of material about Buddhism. But as far as people actually doing it is concerned, there is not so much. So that first question, how do I start with meditation and practice? Just to do it. Read the Anapanasati Sutta, mindfulness of the breath, and then do it. If you do it that way, rather than reading about it, listening to it, discussing it, and experience it properly for yourself, you will start to reap and experience the benefits of that meditation. if you just intellectually have an understanding of I should be meditating, I should be doing the practice, rather than feeling that if I was meditating, I would be relieving my suffering, whereas what I'm actually doing now is only increasing my suffering. If you really feel that, you'll want to be meditating, and you'll maintain that hour each morning, rather than it reducing to 10 minutes. In fact, you'll increase that hour in the morning to 2 hours and 3 hours, eventually all day. Because you'll be able to find so much gratification in the benefits of meditation that you cannot find elsewhere, that you become infused towards the idea of meditating. You'll want to and have thirst and craving for meditation, for the sheer tranquility, calm and peace and mind it brings each and every time you sit and meditate. But that isn't the goal. That is the side effects and the ongoing pleasantries of the practice of meditation. If you are without those in your meditation and it is a struggle, you need to take a step back and look at it, look closely at what it is you are actually doing. Are you meditating, or are you just positioning yourself physically in a posture to look like meditation and trying not to think? If that's the case, then this is not how to go about meditation. If you read that Anapanasati Sutta and read it again and read it again, that's not what the Buddha says. Establish mindfulness first and foremost. So make a determination to be mindful, that is, pay attention. Focus your awareness on something. And he suggests the breath, breathing. Breathing in, breathing out. And then notice the qualities of that breath. And then hold your attention on that meditation object for as long as you are able to. But if your mind wanders, that is okay. Each and every time you sit to meditate, each and every time you remember, I must come back to the breath and watch the breath rather than doing what I've been doing, sitting here thinking about stuff, then you are progressing slightly more towards being focused, having one pointed concentration on one thing, in this case the breath, which is samadhi. And the more you practice this, develop samadhi, the more able you are to maintain that focus on the meditation object. And it takes time, like going to the gym. You can't lift the heaviest weights straight away. You start with the lighter and you gradually increase. Similarly with your meditation. So now just increase your meditation from 10 minutes again to 20 minutes to 40 minutes to 50 to an hour, and gradually increase the meditation within your comfort zone, but pushing yourself a little, like increasing the weight of what you're lifting or doing in the gym. You're exercising the brain as you would exercise the body, but rather than with the body, which as much as you exercise, improve its fitness, its appearance, your muscles, etc., that will wither, age, get sick and die. As will the intellectual mind, the intellectual brain, thinking brain. However much learning, however much study, even of the suttas, the Abhidharma, the advanced commentaries on the suttas, even of that kind of thing, wholesome knowledge, skillful information, it will too be lost. What we're developing in meditation is, firstly, a clear mind. Not a mind that doesn't think, not a mind that is contentless, experienceless, but a mind that sees clearly all experiences, both external and internal, both bodily and mental. And seeing clearly, in Pali, is vipassana, which is where the word vipassana comes from. But vipassana is not the technique, it's the quality derived from sitting and meditating. If you go on a vipassana retreat, a Goenka, for instance, for example, vipassana retreat, which is Buddhist-based. This is why there's the Buddhist chanting in the background in Pali, often on those courses, on those retreats, I have heard. You will sit for many hours in one day, just observing the body, or the mind, or reciting to yourself other qualities like metta, loving kindness for all beings. But essentially, practicing, developing the mind's ability to focus on one thing. And for samatha, a word that in the suttas you will always find in conjunction with vipassana. The word vipassana doesn't come up in the suttas, the words of the Buddha, alone. It comes up with the word in conjunction with the word samatha, vipassana samatha, meaning tranquility, calm, peace of mind, which you need to develop in order to see clearly vipassana and see clearly this experience for what it is. That is insight into impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and everything is out of your control. Firstly, through, as mentioned just at the beginning of this talk in the Satipatthana Sutta, the 4 foundations of mindfulness. The body, feelings, thinking, thought, the thinking brain, and all phenomena that you experience. This is what we're doing in meditation, but we're not necessarily having to do anything but sit patiently and observe what naturally happens. And from that, eventually, will come great feelings of what is in Pali described as piti and sukha, which is physical rapture, so a physical, wonderful feeling of the body. Much like when you experience a really wonderful thing, watching a wonderful movie, or meeting friends that you haven't seen for a long time, or reading a super book or something like that. And sukha, mental joy, happiness, real happiness. Not just ha-ha, laughing happiness, but real, deep happiness. That just arises naturally, but also passes away. And you'll see the impermanence in those physical feelings and mental joy through sitting for long enough, which you won't see in a short space of time like 10 minutes. But if you're not experiencing that feeling, those feelings, and that understanding, then yes, your practice, as you call it, is going to become rather numb, rather boring. Now, eventually, if you don't progress, even piti and sukha you will become numb to it, immune to it. You need to advance from piti and sukha, physical rapture and mental joy, into deeply absorbed states of meditation we call jhana, where in jhana you will be completely secluded from all bodily experience, feeling, and all mental experience, thought. Experiencing nothing comparable to the conditioned world. All that is impermanent, unsatisfactory, and out of your control, but only that of a glimpse of what might be close to nibbana, or emptiness, sunyata. Not reliant on a healthy physical body, not reliant on an intellectual thinking mind. Something that can still be experienced at the moment of death on your deathbed, lying there with a painful body, with a thinking brain that doesn't work anymore. It might not remember who you are. It might not remember who the people at your deathbed visiting you are either, let alone the Abhidharma or the suttas. But if you've been developing through your life this practice of meditation and jhana, which is not of this conditioned experience, that will remain, as will those qualities you've experienced and developed through your practice throughout your life of metta, loving kindness, karuna, compassion, mudita, joy, and upekkha, equanimity. Those qualities will remain also. You've created the causes and conditions for either rebirth or escape from the realms of rebirth, samsara, the cycle of rebirth, samsara. Relinquishing yourself from that endless cycle of rebirth into nibbana. Now, glimpses of this can be experienced in meditation if you listen to the words of the Buddha and put those into practice. So go back to the beginning, when you were first enthusiastic about meditation, but realize it isn't just for the phenomena and what you experience that can just as easily be gained from meeting friends, watching a movie, having a beer or a glass of wine. Those are just very impermanent. They're very short-lived experiences, whereas the development of your focused attention in samadhi is everlasting. Those qualities of vipassana, qualities of samatha, are everlasting throughout this lifetime, and if reborn, continue into the next, as will metta, karuna, mudita, and upekkha. You're setting in place the causes and conditions for the next moment. And when you die, not to be pessimistic and miserable, but however many people are standing around your bed at the point of death, you're alone. They're not coming with you. They're probably looking at their watch thinking, how long is this going to take? I need to be somewhere else. As much as they might love you. You're dying alone, so you need to be with yourself solitarily. Recognizing the no self in that, this just physical body withering away, this mental intellect, thinking brain, its lack of capability. How it was useful for a while, but is no longer any use. But what remains bright and clear is vipassana. Clear seeing, seeing clearly. What remains joyous and content is samatha. Tranquil, calm, peaceful states of mind. And with that in place, the process of this physical body and thinking brain dying is not death and then rebirth. It's just a flow of another moment from one moment to the next. And that is what you're doing alone throughout all of your life, even in company. Your moment is yours alone. This is why solitary practice, solitary confinement even, for a true practitioner is not a problem. We don't seek company. We don't need a whole array of friends and things going on around us, because the true benefits of this practice are there within this meditation practice. And developing mindfulness as a result of that throughout all of our daily activities, if we're not monastics, monks or nuns, and we have families, social lives, business lives, duties and responsibilities, a job to do, we can go about those mindfully, practicing samasati, right mindfulness. And then, however mundane they might seem, even enjoy those more so for what they are. When you're sweeping, you're just sweeping. But you might have to sweep the whole leaves of a forest, but really all you're doing is sweeping the leaves that are in contact with the broom. Sweep right, sweep left. Is that the right way around? Sweep right, sweep left. This is what you're mindful of. Not thinking, oh, I have all those leaves to sweep in front of me. Because as soon as you've swept all those leaves in front of you, there will be new leaves that have fallen behind you. This is an example of moment-to-moment existence. You can either be behind you or in front of you. But the only place you are, in reality, in truth, is here, with just the leaves in contact with your broom, right in front of you. And that is the present moment here and now, where there is samatha, peace and tranquility, calm states of mind. But you'll only get to this through the practice of samadhi, focusing your concentration back again. Read the Anapanasati Sutta again, and again, and again, and again. And if you're not doing what it says in that sutta, stop doing whatever it is you're doing and go back to what the Buddha explained to us as to how we meditate, what to do. Then you'll have those wonderful experiences again. Then you will not get demotivated. So let the teachings, the words of the Buddha motivate you. Not me. I'm just doing the practice like you, as you can do the practice too. During meditation, my upper body becomes hot after about 10 minutes. Is this due to breathing, awareness, or both? Have you encountered this yourself? So during meditation, all kinds of phenomena will happen. Now, people describe to me, both when they're visiting and in writing by email, at great length, all of these phenomena that happen during their meditation. What is this? Does it happen to you? It is phenomena. It is either bodily feelings or mental thought. It is either seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching or feeling, physically feeling, or something you are thinking about or imagining. It can be nothing else. The only alternative to those is the absence of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and thinking, which only is experienced in jhana, deeply absorbed states of meditation, where you are secluded from bodily feeling and mental proliferation, thought. There is still awareness, you're still awake, but there's no papancha, overthinking about things. So, back to basics. Mindfulness of the breaths, of anapanasati. Anapana, breath. Sati, mindfulness. When you notice your upper body becoming hot after 10 minutes, well, how do you know that? You've been watching the clock. That is not meditating. Even if it's a guess, it's not meditating. It's sitting there observing, yes, the phenomena that's occurring. But you've lost mindfulness. You're noticing just some of the many experiences, phenomena that you will experience in meditation. Whether it's this feeling or another feeling, however many feelings and phenomena that are described to me, it's all just either seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, or thinking. There's nothing else in this worldly existence that we can experience. Even if a spirit from the Deva realm comes before us, we can only experience contact with that spirit from the Deva world via those means: seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, or thinking, imagination, which is more often what it would be. But still only through vijnana, sensory contact. Unless you're experiencing jhana, deeply absorbed states of meditation, when you'd be secluded from bodily feelings and wouldn't know however hot your body became or however cold. This is why you can, in very sub-zero temperatures, continue in meditation if you're in jhana, or even in the heat or with mosquitoes or difficult conditions, continue in jhana, because you're secluded from bodily feelings and experiences, and then mental thought or proliferation about that. So as long as these things are happening during your meditation, you're losing mindfulness. So know that and retrain yourself to focus your attention, your conscious awareness, not on these things, but on just the breath, the quality of the breath. Now I know you say, is this due to breathing? Well, our very existence is dependent on breathing. You're always breathing. And you say, is it awareness or both? Breathing, awareness or both? Awareness of the breath only leads to awareness of the breath. Knowing, is it short, is it long? Is it deep, is it shallow? Is it warm, is it cool? Is it smooth, is it rough? Is it easy, is it hard? Is it subtle, is it coarse? The qualities of each breath in and each breath out. Observation of these is what mindfulness leads to, awareness of these. It will have a tranquilizing and calming and cooling effect on the body. This heating up is anxiety, is wanting for things to be otherwise. It's trying too hard to concentrate on the breath rather than just breathing. You don't have to breathe. You just naturally breathe from the minute you're born until you die. You don't have to do it. All meditation is about is observing it. Not changing it, not judging it, just knowing how it is. So back to basics. Read your Anapanasati Sutta again and practice in the way the Buddha has shown us and the method he used at his enlightenment, the method he recalled from his childhood, and the meditation object, albeit only one of 40, 10 of which are colours, so there are really only 31, but although there are 40 meditation objects the Buddha gives for different reasons and different purposes, the most commonly referenced and significant meditation object is the breath, or Anapanasati. I keep saying that. Anapanasati, the Anapanasati Sutta in particular, referencing observation of the breath, mindfulness of breath. So once again, back to basics, okay? That's right. As far as the meanness and violence throughout history are concerned, is reading military history an unwholesome activity? It's not necessarily an unwholesome activity. It's history. It's in the past, it cannot be changed, but as lay practitioners, you can read anything you like, do anything you like, and still keep the 5 precepts. So it's not breaking the precepts. To some extent, reading history, studying history, is a great insight into how things are now and why the things are the way they are now. But you'll soon see it's very repetitive. It's all the result of greed, hatred, and delusion. So it's far more useful to understand greed, hatred, and delusion than what is really not useful. Read all of the repeated war stories that are there and available in military history over and over again, just which are recounting the ill effects of greed, hatred and delusion. It is better to read something that recounts the positives of eradicating greed, hatred and delusion. And that can only be found in the suttas, the benefits of this practice. So it's neither wholesome or unwholesome. It's just the same as reading history of politics or the history of a country, for instance, a nation. Those things are always related to military action because of greed, hatred and delusion. We don't need to dwell on that. We don't need to dwell on the past. So in that sense, it's unwholesome. And from the point of view of monks and nuns, they should not read such material. But it's because there's no need to read such material or know about such things. Even current affairs, to some extent, unless they are going to affect you, do not need to be known about for a Buddhist monk, whom is protected in their environment and supported by society. If something comes along that's going to affect you in your own, where you're staying, in your locality, you'll be informed, because you've dedicated your life, renounced worldly life, to a life of practice, and lay practitioners are supporting you as a monk to do that. So there is no reason to be looking outside of that environment for other stimulation. But if something happens that you need to be informed about, you will be. This is why monks don't need to use smartphones, read newspapers or whatever it is these days on the television daily to know what's going on in the world. One can hazard a guess it's the results of greed, hatred and delusion. It's, as you say, meanness, violence, cruelty. Currently, not just in history. It's going on, but no more so these days than ever before. It's just known about more these days because people are continually scrolling through their phones negative news feeds, which are not always accurate. In fact, most often are not accurate. What is reported is what will be viewed, what will be watched, what will be subscribed to. What is popular, which is more bad news than good news. Occasionally, some good news attracts interest and becomes a popular news story. But it's very fleeting by comparison to the continued audience captivity that wars, attrition, violence and nastiness attracts. This is because of greed, hatred and delusion. And by reading and studying such subjects, you're only feeding those root defilements. Whereas reading the suttas or just practicing meditation is developing wholesome qualities, wholesome states of mind. My suffering is coming from knowing that all our deeds stand for nothing, that everything is pointless. I'm trying to learn living with it, but it's not easy. So firstly, the practice, it's never said that the practice is easy. For some people, even keeping 5 precepts is not easy. Refraining from killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, lying and taking intoxicants. Some people find that not easy. Meditation. Some people find it not easy to just sit still and do nothing for a little while. But with time, with practice, it becomes easier. Now, you say, my suffering. Why is it your suffering? It isn't personal. There is suffering. The Buddha never said, you will suffer, I suffer, you suffer. He says, there is suffering. It's up to you whether you pick it up and you experience it. Or, if you are suffering, whether you hang on to that, what is causing your suffering, as you describe it. It is not your suffering. It is the experience you're having as a result of not understanding what is causing this dukkha, dissatisfaction. If you are practicing, you'll soon identify the cause of that suffering. And by removing the cause, you will no longer be suffering. So it isn't your suffering. As far as the pointlessness is concerned, it is pointless, say, reading military history, unless it's for an examination or something like that that's required by your future career path. It's pointless reading a novel or watching a box set. It's pointless going to a restaurant to eat when you can eat just as adequately at home. But some of these things we do because we enjoy them. We're trying to satisfy those root defilements of greed, hatred and delusion, which can never be satisfied. They're insatiable. In fact, by doing those things, we're fueling that thirst, that craving. But until we identify that, we'll continue doing those things. But the doing them in themselves is not pointless from that respect, because we will soon learn the impermanent nature of that gratification and how unsatisfying worldly life really is, through bitter experience eventually. So nothing is pointless in that respect. But the creation of causes and conditions for a better life, a better future, the next moment, by wholesome activities of body, speech and mind, based on moral virtue, precepts, based on mental development, developing through meditation, samadhi, qualities like loving kindness, karuna, mudita, and upekkha. So loving kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity, upekkha. These qualities cannot ever be seen as pointless, because those two, like your suffering, are not yours. They're qualities you've developed that others will experience. If you're naturally filled with greed, hatred and delusion, others too will experience that from your very nature being around you. But if you've naturally developed metta, loving kindness and compassion, karuna, all beings will experience that. You don't have to sit and list that in your meditation. Save meditation for meditation. Reflect upon that prior to your meditation or after your meditation. Yes, indeed. Metta in that way. But we develop the quality of metta. It's not a practice. We develop the quality of metta by practicing meditation and keeping moral virtue. So therefore, vowing to do no harm to either ourselves or any other beings. That's the greatest gift you can give to yourself or other beings. That is the gift of harmlessness. That's true metta. And when you see anyone, anything, from an insect to a fellow human being, from an enemy to a colleague, to a friend, to a lover, to a family member, you smile, you greet, you inquire as to their well-being, you wish them well. This is metta. Smiling, shaking someone's hand, even hugging as lay people. You know, these things are demonstrative of loving kindness. How is that pointless? Now, each and every morning I go on Pindapata because that's how I eat, that's how I live. If I didn't do that, I would starve and die because I have no money or cannot use money. So I need to go each day with a begging bowl, and people, from the goodness of their heart, through pure loving kindness, whom are complete strangers, let's say there's 30 to 40, 40 to 50 people each and every day who put something in my bowl, an item of food. There's quite a lot of people. Half of those are the same faces I see day in, day out, 365 days of the year, and have done so for the last more than 2.5 years now in this same place, on my same route for Alms Round. Now, each and every one of those people, half of whom are the same each and every day, and the other half are new faces that I may never see again. People who just get off the bus and come and put something in my bowl, are passing by and stop and put something in my bowl, are from the very deep goodness of their heart and generosity, offering dana, that is Pali for generosity, giving me a little food to sustain my existence as a monk for another day until they see me tomorrow. However little or however much that is, it doesn't matter. It's the generosity that I am receiving. The true experience of metta, of compassion, of joy. Now, receiving that and giving those the opportunity to give, gives them similarly that feeling of giving is often described as greater than receiving. Similarly, that feeling of mudita, joy. And how can that possibly be pointless? If they don't do that, I starve and cannot continue to practice or die. If they do that, there are boundless benefits to that activity of giving and generosity. Subsequently, in turn, I then have way too much food, as you can imagine, if 40 people give you a meal. But I'm able then to give that food straight away, whilst it's still hot, to many other people. When I visit the local hospital, the men's ward, the ladies' ward, the children's ward, the staff there, all get something. And I just have what remains, a little rice, a little curry, a little dal, some chickpeas, a bit of fruit and a bit of bread or pastry is enough for my one meal a day. But all of that surplus, I can give and experience the benefit of giving. How is that pointless? That is how we eradicate suffering, through generosity. Dana is seen as the easiest path towards enlightenment, and certainly in Buddhist countries is often replaces meditation, because people find it easier to come here. The people that visit me here, that come to meditate, are usually from other countries. The people that come to visit me here, that are from Sri Lanka, local, or even further afield, even from Sri Lankans that now live in other countries that visit me here, don't usually come to meditate, but to offer dana, to give some food, some candles, some incense, some flowers, or something like that. Practicing generosity, because it's instant gratification, whereas meditation takes a long time, as we've been discussing in these questions today. It takes a lot of determination, a lot of effort, which is why in the Noble Eightfold Path there is right effort, preceding right mindfulness, which precedes right concentration. So it requires effort, but dana, generosity, does not. You pass someone on the street, smile is dana, is generosity. Giving them something to eat is even more so. And giving people the opportunity to give to you, to receive their kindness, is in a way giving too. And in my experience, results in you having way too much and able to give to many others. This is how we have this meditation hall, through your generosity. This is how we will have water and facilities for visitors, through your specific generosity. This is how I'm able to stay here in this country practicing each and every day, through people's generosity on Pindapata, alms round, giving me food to survive another day. Each and every one of them. How is that pointless? How is everything pointless? You don't need to learn to live with that. You just need to recognize that if what you're doing is pointless, don't do it. Do something that has a point, that is beneficial towards developing wholesome mind states and eradicating unwholesome mind states. Okay, right, I think this should be the next but last question. We're catching up nicely today. I haven't wandered too much, I hope. I've just read through there. Sorry I went quiet. Enjoy the silence. But the background is useful for me, but I have to identify the question because we all have backgrounds and we're all striving towards letting go of the past in terms of not dwelling on the past, not imagining or worrying about the future, but doing what we can do now in the present moment in order to determine through our good actions a good future. And that starts with meditation. So your question starts with, I've been experiencing a tingling sensation in the middle of my forehead ever since, I should have read that, ever since you began meditation in the latter half of 225. Could you talk about it? So I have already talked about that when I was describing the situation someone was experiencing heat in the body as phenomena. It again is just another form of phenomena, physical phenomena you're experiencing as a new meditator in meditation to be just noticed but not thought about, not judged. Don't worry about it. Come back to observing the breath. Don't come back, you've not gone anywhere, you've continued breathing, but re-establish mindfulness on the breath. Think about the breathing in and the breathing out, not any tingling sensations. Now, the physical reasoning probably is you're overly trying too hard. Your face is scrunched up, your forehead is wrinkling, your eyebrows are furrowed. I could have got that all the wrong way round, but when you sit to meditate, first and foremost, establishing mindfulness, yes, but relax your face. Remember this, relax your face, and then everything else in turn will relax along with it. Breathe in and relax your face again. Breathe out. Breathe in and relax your face again. Keep saying this to yourself. Tingling in your forehead is because you're focusing on trying to focus on the tip of the nose or your third eye. I see so many people sitting in tight jeans focusing on their third eye. They call it something. They call it meditation. No, that's not. That's torture. Sit in loose and comfortable clothing. Relax your face and breathe. Relax your face and breathe. Relax your face and breathe. That's all you need to do, observing the breath. And everything just sinks and settles and relaxes. That's all you need to do. There'll be no heat, no tingling, no physical phenomena. If there is, note it as feeling. If necessary, note it as liking or disliking, depending on the feeling. But enough when you remember the breath, breathing in, breathing out, relax your face. As you relax your face, your jaw is not clenched, your teeth are not touching, but your mouth is closed, around your eyes is not wrinkled up, is smooth, your forehead, everything calm. As a result of just relaxing your face. Just remember that. If that alone helps, and it will, use that as your mantra. Relax my face, relax my face. And as you go about your daily duties, whatever it is, work, you can say to yourself in the back of your mind, just relax your face. When you're really concentrating on something, notice how your face scrunches up and how at the end of the day, through a day of doing that, you have a headache or sore eyes. If you remember throughout the day to just relax your face and not do that, you can still do the task in hand just as effectively, if not more so, but without the discomfort associated with concentration, because concentration is not hard if you make it enjoyable. Concentration isn't straining your focus, it is just maintaining focus on the subject in hand, whether it's your meditation object or the job you are doing. So just maintain that. That is samasati, right mindfulness, throughout all of your daily activities. It begins with the body, the 4 foundations of mindfulness, back to where we started. Relax your face is immediately bringing your mindfulness to the body. And the breath, which is only here and now, in the present moment. That is where we begin. Establishing mindfulness in front of us, as the Buddha says at the beginning of the Anapanasati Sutta. I hope you found something useful you can put into practice there within what we've discussed today, and if so, use it, but if not, just let it go. But please join me next time for more of your comments and questions on this practice of developing wholesome mind states, reducing unwholesome mind states, contentment resulting in happiness on this path towards Nibbana. Evam. Be happy and stay well. Sukhi Hotu.